Okay, so the next part is cooking the stir fry. Now it's really important to get a nice hot pan. It's important to have all the ingredients and the equipment that we need beforehand. I've also got a plate ready as well, ready for plating up. So I don't need to move around, I've got everything that I need. So first thing that goes into the pan is a drizzle of vegetable oil. Okay, so that heats up really quickly. You can see it's starting to smoke. And then the first ingredients that I'm going to put in there are these harder ingredients, the ones that take the longest to cook. So I'm in straight away with some carrots and then the peppers as well. And I'm just going to give those a few minutes longer than the rest of the ingredients, because as I said, these take slightly longer to cook. And as it suggests within the name, stir fry, we keep the whole thing moving the whole time. Now if we were doing this on gas, I'm doing an induction today, we'd probably use a wok, and a wok is a steep-sided pan that Chinese use in their cooking, which just gives more heat right throughout the outside, and it just gives a better cooking implement really, because it's deeper and it's got more room in there. Okay, so this is just going to take a couple of minutes to cook. We don't want it to be cooked right through, we still want it to be al dente. So al dente, that word which means just cooked, just still got a little bit of bite to it. You'll notice as well how thin I've cut the carrots. Now if I cut them really thick, well then obviously they're going to take much longer to cook. So I've cut them quite thinly so they're in really nice thin strips. Just keep an eye on the heat, because we don't want it to get so hot that the pan sets on fire. And as I said before, I'm just keeping the whole thing moving the whole time. Okay, so stir and fry. I'm happy that these ingredients are just about there. They've had about 2, maybe 3 minutes in the oil. And I can see also that the pan has dried up, there's no oil left in there. So I'm just going to put a spot more oil in there for these next ingredients that are going to go in. Okay, so the onions are going to go in next, good sprinkle of onions. And I'm also going to put the garlic in there as well, because I want these ingredients to have a really good flavour of garlic. Next thing that goes in there is the bean sprouts. So a good handful of bean sprouts. We've also got spring onions, cabbage. I'm just going to leave the mange tout till very last minute, because that cooks in seconds. Okay, so really good stir around. Make sure all the ingredients are incorporated, and again we're keeping on an eye on the moisture that's in the bottom of the pan as well. It's just starting to get a little bit dry again, so I'm just going to put a drizzle more oil in there. So you can see the importance of just having the right ingredients and tools just around you, just all the time, just to make sure that you're not having to run away from the pan. You can stay there and look after it the whole time. And again, stir and fry, making sure that garlic's stirred through especially, because that's one of the key ingredients with this. You need to make sure that it's mixed in really well, or else we'll end up in a situation where we've just got one part of the recipe that's got garlic in it, and then the other bits won't have any flavour. So make sure it's moved around really well. You can see the ingredients start to change colour as well as they're cooking, especially the cabbage. It's started to go a darker green colour, so that's a sign that it's just about cooked. Okay, and then the last thing that's going to go in, as I said, with regards to vegetables, is this mange tout. You can see that really nice green colour. That's just going to change slightly and go a slightly darker green. Okay, so really good stir around. Again, make sure it's really well incorporated. And then we've got a couple of other ingredients that we still have to put in as well. So we're going to stir the noodles into there, and we're also going to put the hoisin sauce and the sesame oil. So next thing we're going to put in is the noodles. And I'm just going to lift a really, really good handful of those out of the water. A bit of the water going into the pan is okay, because it just adds to the moisture that's in there as well. And just start to really, really carefully stir the vegetables through the noodles again, so that it's all really, really nicely distributed through the pan. Gives it plenty of colour as well. Okay. Keeping an eye on the heat as well, so we don't want the heat too high, we don't want it too low, but you'll have heard it's constantly sizzling the whole time that I've been cooking and talking. You can hear it sizzling the whole time. And then the last couple of things that I'm going to put in there is the hoisin sauce. And that's a really, really nice sweet sauce. Just adds to the depth of flavour to the dish. And then right at the last second we're going to put some sesame oil in there. So hoisin sauce, some people like lots and lots of that in there. Some people just like a tiny bit just for that extra flavour. If you had any soy sauce as well, you could use soy sauce. It's absolutely delicious in a stir fry. Chinese cooking, they tend to use soy sauce rather than any salt. It's a really, really good way of seasoning our food in Chinese cookery. And you can see how nicely incorporated all those ingredients are now. Okay, so last thing that I'm going to pop in is our sesame oil. And that just adds an even deeper flavour to our dish. I'll just drizzle that in. Okay, so we don't actually cook it in the sesame oil. We're using the veg oil for the cooking. The sesame oil is just the flavouring, because it burns really, really easily. Okay, so once we've got all those ingredients in, then we can plate up. So I've got myself a nice colourful bowl here. I've also got some tongs for lifting the stir fry in. And there's not really a good way to make this look particularly beautiful in the bowl. We're just looking for a little bit of neatness. And all you're doing is lifting, making sure that you don't get the stir fry everywhere. Right into the centre of the bowl. A little bit of a twist to the tongs. Get plenty of vegetables on there. But we don't want mountains and mountains of food either. So this to me is quite a nice sized portion. We don't want to overface anybody when we're eating. And as you can see, I've got a good mixture of the ingredients in there. I'm just going to sort of crisscross some of the peppers on the top, just for a bit of extra sort of, I don't know, make it more attractive, whatever you might like to say. Okay, so last bit there. And then there's just a tiny bit left in the pan, just pop on top. Okay, so we're looking for a portion of stir fry. Make sure it's cooked through, and then you might like to save a little bit behind just for tasting, just to check whether it's seasoned correctly, because remember, that's one of the key things that I'm going to pull you up on, probably, that there isn't enough seasoning in there. So you may want to put a little bit of salt in there, or a bit of extra hoisin sauce, something like that, whatever you think it needs. But that to me is just about right.